CEO, spots a boy at supermarket who looks like him. DNA test reveals it's his son from one night stand. Picture this: a bustling supermarket on a Saturday afternoon. Carts clattering, kids laughing, and shelves stacked high with everything, from cereal to cleaning supplies. Amidst the chaos, there's Michael Carter, the CEO of one of the city's most successful tech companies. Walking down the snack aisle, he's dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, trying to blend in as he grabs a bag of chips for his weekend binge-watching session. But then, something, or rather someone, catches his eye. Standing just a few feet away is a boy, no older than 10, who looks eerily familiar. The resemblance isn't just striking, it's uncanny. For a moment, Michael freezes, his mind racing with questions. Who is this child? Why does he look so much like him? And more importantly, could this be the result of a long-forgotten choice from years ago? Michael isn't the kind of man who believes in coincidences. At 42, he's built an empire through calculated decisions and relentless focus. Yet here he is, standing in front of a kid who could pass as his mini-me. The boy has the same sharp jawline, the same piercing blue eyes, even the same way of tilting his head when he's curious about something. It's almost surreal. As Michael watches, the boy turns toward the freezer section, tugging at his mother's hand. That's when Michael notices her, a woman in her mid-30s, clearly frazzled, but radiating warmth. She doesn't seem to notice him, but Michael can't shake the feeling that fate has just thrown him a curveball he wasn't prepared for. The encounter lasts only seconds, but it leaves Michael unsettled. He tries to brush it off, telling himself it's nothing more than a strange coincidence. After all, people sometimes resemble each other without any connection, but deep down, he knows better. A memory flashes in his mind. A fleeting night, over a decade ago, a business trip to Chicago, and a chance meeting at a hotel bar. Back then, Michael was younger, less cautious, and definitely not thinking about consequences. He remembers leaving early the next morning after exchanging numbers, promising to call but never following through. Life got busy, and that nameless face faded into the background of his past. Or so he thought. As the days pass, the image of the boy haunts Michael. He finds himself staring at old photos, comparing them to what he saw in the supermarket. His assistant notices his distraction during meetings, and his friends comment on how unusually quiet he's been. Finally, unable to ignore the nagging voice in his head, Michael decides to act. He hires a private investigator to dig into the matter, discreetly. What starts as a simple curiosity quickly spirals into something far bigger than he anticipated. The PI uncovers details that send chills down Michael's spine. The woman's name, her address, and most shockingly, the fact that she filed for child support shortly after the boy's birth. Only, the request was dismissed due to lack of evidence linking the child to its father. Evidence that Michael now realizes might exist within his own DNA. Torn between guilt and responsibility, Michael wrestles with what to do next. On one hand, he feels compelled to reach out to confirm whether the boy really is his son. On the other, he fears disrupting the lives of two people who have managed without him for years. What if they don't want him in their lives? What if the truth changes everything? For worse, these questions weigh heavily on him, especially since he's always prided himself on being a man of integrity. This situation forces him to confront parts of himself he'd rather forget, reminding him of choices made in haste and promises broken under pressure. Meanwhile, we meet Sarah Thompson, the boy's mother, a single parent juggling 2 jobs and raising her son, Ethan. She's fiercely protective, yet endlessly compassionate. Her world revolves around giving Ethan the best life possible, despite the challenges they face. When she learns that someone has been asking questions about her family, she grows suspicious. Years of navigating life alone have taught her to be cautious, especially when it comes to men showing sudden interest. Still, there's a part of her that wonders if maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. Could the father Ethan has, asked about countless times, finally step up? The tension builds as Michael prepares to take the next step. Armed with a home DNA test kit, he waits outside Sarah's apartment building, unsure of how to approach her. Should he knock on her door and explain everything? Or should he leave the kit anonymously, letting science reveal the truth before confronting her? Each option carries risks, and Michael knows there's no turning back once he makes his move. Meanwhile, Sarah senses something brewing. She sees a black SUV parked across the street, its driver glancing periodically at her window. Paranoia kicks in, and she starts questioning everyone around her, including her closest friends. Back at work, Michael struggles to maintain his composure. His company is on the verge of launching a groundbreaking product, and investors are watching closely. Yet his thoughts keep drifting back to Ethan and Sarah. He begins to wonder how becoming a father would change him, not just personally, but professionally. Would his employees respect him less if they knew about his past? Would his board see him as irresponsible or distracted? These doubts gnaw at him, adding another layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. Just as Michael gathers the courage to make contact, fate intervenes again. Ethan falls ill, landing in the hospital with an unexpected condition. Sarah posts updates on social media, pleading for prayers and support. Seeing this, Michael feels a surge of emotions he can't ignore. Without hesitation, he drives to the hospital, determined to help in whatever way he can. But when he arrives, he's faced with a dilemma. Should he introduce himself as a concerned stranger, or should he reveal the real reason he's there? As he stands outside Ethan's room, watching Sarah hold her son's hand, Michael realizes that this moment will define not only his future, but also theirs. And here's where our story takes a dramatic turn. As Michael steps closer to the doorway, ready to speak, Sarah looks up, and their eyes meet. There's recognition in her gaze, mixed with confusion and suspicion. Before either of them can say a word, a doctor interrupts, pulling Sarah aside for an urgent update. Michael hesitates, torn between staying and retreating. In that split second, the weight of his decision becomes clear. Whatever happens next will change all their lives forever. What will Michael choose? Will he walk away, leaving the past buried? Or will he embrace the truth and face the consequences head on? And what about Sarah and Ethan? How will they react when they learn the identity of the man who may very well be part of their family? Stay tuned for the next chapter of this gripping tale, where secrets unravel, relationships are tested, and destinies collide in ways no one could predict. Michael's heart pounds as he stands frozen in the hospital hallway, his mind racing with possibilities. He watches Sarah listen intently to the doctor, her face etched with worry, but also strength. It's clear she's been through tough times before, and Ethan's illness is just another hurdle she refuses to let break her. Michael feels a pang of guilt. He wasn't there for any of it. Not when Ethan was born. Not during the sleepless nights or scraped knees. And certainly not now, when they're facing something far more serious. The thought gnaws at him, making his decision even harder. Should he step forward now, risking rejection and chaos, or retreat quietly and leave them to handle this crisis alone? As Sarah turns back toward Ethan's room, Michael instinctively moves closer, his resolve strengthening. But before he can say anything, Ethan spots him from the bed. "Who are you?" the boy asks innocently, his voice soft but curious. For a moment, time seems to stop. Michael looks into those piercing blue eyes again, so much like his own, and feels an overwhelming surge of emotion. This isn't just some stranger's child. It's his son. His son. The weight of that realization hits him like a freight train, leaving him momentarily speechless. Sarah steps in quickly, shielding Ethan with her body as if sensing danger. "Can I help you?" she asks sharply, her tone defensive. Michael stammers, caught off guard by her protective stance. I heard about Ethan," he begins, fumbling for words. "I wanted to see if there's anything I can do." Sarah narrows her eyes, suspicion written all over her face. "How did you hear about him?" she demands, crossing her arms. Michael hesitates, unsure how much to reveal. He knows the truth will come out eventually, but now doesn't feel like the right time. Not with Ethan lying pale and weak in the hospital bed. The tension between them is palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. Michael tries to explain himself without giving too much away. "Look, I'm just here to help," he says earnestly. "I have resources, connections, whatever you need." Sarah scoffs, clearly unimpressed. "We don't need your charity," she snaps. "If you really cared, you would have shown up years ago." Her words hit their mark, leaving Michael feeling smaller than he ever has in his life. She's right, of course. He had countless opportunities to take responsibility, to be present, but he chose ambition and convenience over accountability. And now, standing here, he realizes just how much damage that choice has caused. While Michael wrestles with his conscience, Sarah finds herself torn between anger and curiosity. There's something familiar about this man, though she can't quite place it. Memories of that night in Chicago flash through her mind, the charming smile, the easy conversation, the promises whispered under dim lights. She shakes her head, dismissing the thought. No way could it be him. Could it? Still, doubt lingers, planting seeds of uncertainty that grow with each passing second. Back at his office, Michael struggles to focus on work while grappling with what happened at the hospital. Every email, every meeting feels meaningless compared to the storm brewing inside him. He reaches out to the private investigator again, desperate for answers. The PI confirms that Sarah never pursued legal action after her initial attempt failed due to insufficient evidence. She raised that boy on her own. The investigator tells him bluntly, "You weren't even a blip on their radar until now." The words sting, but they also fuel Michael's determination to make things right, even if it means bending over backward to earn their trust. Meanwhile, Sarah starts piecing things together. She remembers filing that child support claim years ago, only to have it dismissed because she couldn't prove paternity. At the time, she didn't think much of it. She was young, broke, and focused solely on surviving. But now, looking back, she wonders if maybe she gave up too easily. Did she owe it to Ethan to fight harder, to demand answers? These questions haunt her as she sits by his bedside, watching him sleep peacefully, despite the tubes and monitors surrounding him. As days pass, Michael decides to take matters into his own hands. He anonymously arranges for top specialists to consult on Ethan's case, ensuring the boy receives the best care possible. When Sarah discovers this, she's furious. "What gives you the right to interfere?" she demands during a heated phone call. "This is my son we're talking about." Michael apologizes profusely, explaining that he only wants to help. "Please," he pleads, Let me do this one thing for him. For both of you." His sincerity catches her off guard, softening her anger just enough for her to agree, reluctantly, to meet him in person. Their first real conversation takes place in a quiet cafe near the hospital. Both are nervous, unsure of where to start. Michael begins by recounting his side of the story: the business trip, the hotel bar, the morning after regret. Sarah listens silently, her expression unreadable. When he finishes, she takes a deep breath and shares hers. The struggle of single motherhood, the sacrifices she made, the dreams she put on hold. Hearing her speak fills Michael with admiration and shame. He sees now just how strong she is, how resilient she's had to be in the face of adversity. Despite their growing understanding, the elephant in the room remains: Ethan. Neither of them knows how or when to tell him the truth. They agree to keep things low-key for now, focusing on his recovery before tackling the bigger issue. But as Ethan grows stronger, his curiosity about Michael intensifies. "Why does that guy keep visiting us?" he asks Sarah one evening. She hesitates, unsure how to respond. Finally, she settles on a half-truth. He's someone who wants to help. Ethan isn't entirely convinced, but he lets it go, for now. Meanwhile, Michael becomes a regular presence in their lives, bringing toys, books, and even arranging a surprise outing to a local amusement park. Once Ethan is well enough, the boy warms to him quickly, drawn to his kindness and sense of humor. Watching them bond fills Sarah with conflicting emotions. On one hand, she's grateful for the support and relieved to see Ethan happy. On the other, she fears what will happen when the truth inevitably comes out. Will Michael stick around, or will he disappear again once the novelty wears off? The turning point comes unexpectedly. While cleaning out old boxes in her attic, Sarah stumbles upon the DNA test kit Michael left behind months earlier. She stares at it, torn between throwing it away and using it. After hours of deliberation, she finally sends it off to the lab, unable to resist finding out once and for all whether her suspicions are correct. Days later, the results arrive via email. Her hands tremble as she opens the attachment, her heart pounding with anticipation. When the answer appears on the screen, she gasps aloud, tears streaming down her face. There's no denying it anymore. Michael Carter is Ethan's father. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah calls Michael immediately. "We need to talk," she says firmly, her voice shaking. Michael senses the urgency in her tone and agrees to meet her at the park where they spent the day with Ethan last weekend. As they sit on a bench overlooking the playground, Sarah hands him the printout. "Here's your proof," she says bitterly. Happy now, Michael reads the document, his jaw dropping as reality sinks in. All this time he'd hoped, but never truly believed, that Ethan was his son. Now staring at the irrefutable evidence, he feels a mix of awe and terror. What happens next? How will they navigate this new reality together? And most importantly, how will Ethan react when he learns the truth? Just as Michael opens his mouth to respond, they hear laughter coming from the swings. It's Ethan, playing happily with a group of kids, completely unaware of the bombshell hovering above him. Sarah and Michael exchange a glance, silently acknowledging the enormity of the task ahead. They know they can't delay it any longer. They have to tell him. But how? And when? As the sun sets behind them, casting long shadows across the park, the weight of their decision hangs heavy in the air, setting the stage for the climactic confrontation yet to come. The laughter from the swings fades into the background as Michael and Sarah sit in silence, both overwhelmed by the gravity of the moment. They know they can't avoid this conversation any longer. It's time to tell Ethan the truth. But how do you explain something so life-altering to a child who has spent his entire life believing one version of reality? Sarah takes a deep breath, her fingers gripping the edge of the bench tightly. We need to be honest with him, she says softly, glancing at Michael. He nods, though uncertainty clouds his eyes. They call Ethan over, their voices calm but tinged with tension. The boy jogs toward them, sensing something is off. What's wrong? He asks, tilting his head curiously. Sarah kneels down to meet his gaze, her heart breaking at the innocence in his expression. Ethan, there's something we need to talk about, she begins gently. It's important. Ethan looks between her and Michael, his brow furrowing. Is it bad? Michael steps forward, crouching beside Sarah. No, buddy, it's not bad, he reassures him, though his voice wavers slightly. It's just, well, it's kind of surprising. Taking a moment to steady himself, he continues. You remember how I've been visiting you and your mom lately? Ethan nods slowly, still confused. Well, the reason I'm here is because I think I might be your dad. For a split second, there's complete silence. Then Ethan's face lights up with excitement. Really? Really? He blurts out, his eyes wide with wonder. Both Michael and Sarah are taken aback by his reaction. It's nothing like the fear or anger they had braced themselves for. Instead, Ethan beams, bouncing on his heels. That's so cool. Does this mean I get to hang out with you more? His enthusiasm brings tears to Sarah's eyes. She pulls him into a tight hug, holding on to him as if afraid he might slip away. Yes, sweetheart, it does, she whispers, choking back emotion. But it also means we have a lot to figure out, together, just the three of us. Ethan nods eagerly, clearly thrilled by the idea of having a father in his life. For Michael, the moment feels surreal. All these years, he avoided responsibility, thinking he wasn't cut out for family life. Now, faced with the joy of his son's acceptance, he realizes he's been given a second chance, a chance to be better. Over the following weeks, the trio navigates their new dynamic carefully. Michael moves slowly, making sure not to overwhelm Ethan or overstep Sarah's boundaries. He starts small, taking Ethan to baseball games, helping him with homework, and teaching him things no one else ever did, like tying a tie or fixing a flat tire. Each shared experience strengthens their bond, proving that love doesn't always require bloodlines. It grows through presence and effort. Sarah, too, finds herself opening up to Michael in ways she never thought possible. At first, she resists letting him into their lives fully, fearing he might abandon them again. But as he consistently shows up, not just financially, but emotionally, her walls begin to crumble. One evening, after putting Ethan to bed, they sit on the porch, talking late into the night. I never stopped hating you for leaving, she admits quietly. But I also never stopped hoping you'd come back. Her honesty catches Michael off guard, but instead of retreating, he leans in. I'm here now, he promises. And I'm not going anywhere. Their relationship evolves, naturally, built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to Ethan's happiness. While romance isn't part of the equation, at least not yet, they find comfort in being co-parents who genuinely care about each other's well-being. It's messy and imperfect, but it works. For Ethan, having both parents in his life becomes a source of immense pride. His grades improve, his confidence skyrockets, and he starts dreaming bigger than ever before. As months turn into a year, Michael makes a bold decision. He steps down as CEO of his company to focus on his family. The move shocks everyone, including Sarah, who initially worries he's sacrificing too much. Are you sure about this? She asks. One night over dinner, Michael smiles, looking across the table at Ethan. More than anything, he replies, I spent my whole life chasing success, but I didn't realize what really mattered until now. The story reaches its climax during a quiet weekend camping trip. Sitting around a crackling fire, under a starlit sky, the three of them share stories and laughter. At one point, Ethan turns to Michael and says, Dad, do you think we'll always be like this? Together? Michael pauses, struck by the weight of the question. Then, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder, he answers firmly, Yes, buddy. No matter what happens, we're a team. In the end, the journey teaches them all valuable lessons. For Michael, it's about accountability and redemption, the idea that it's never too late to make amends. For Sarah, it's about forgiveness and trust that people can change when given the opportunity. And for Ethan, it's about belonging and identity. Knowing where you come from doesn't define you. It's the love you carry forward that truly matters. As the camera pans out, capturing the trio silhouetted against the glowing embers of the campfire, the audience is left with a powerful takeaway. Life is unpredictable, full of twists and turns. We can't control, but within those moments of chaos lies the potential for connection, growth, and transformation. Sometimes all it takes is courage. One step, one conversation, one act of vulnerability to rewrite the script of our lives. And while the road may be bumpy, the destination, a family forged through honesty and love, is worth every challenge along the way.